Well, we now pretty much have steel under our control and are able to produce quite a lot of ingots of it. So for the next part of the quest, we will slowly work our way down towards making Petcoke. But in order to make the Petcoke, we are going to require a lot of heavy machinery here. So I think for today, let's have a look into making some of these machines. Most of the machines that we need to make are of similar size to the improved blast furnace here, if not even larger than it. So to begin with, we are going to need a lot of space, which means that I am going to need to clear out a lot of room here. So let's upgrade our tools then, shall we? And I'm thinking of upgrading them to cobalt. And that is some cobalt then melted down for us. So we will upgrade the sledgehammer first of all. So we will fill up one of those large plates. And this one upgrade will turn our mining speed from 3 to 3.37. And if I use a cobalt hammerhead then to upgrade it, we will upgrade the mining speed once again to 3.7 this time. And we'll add a stone tough handle then to it to bring that mining speed up to 4.03. Now, if I get myself out some redstone, I can then augment the hammer here further by adding the haste effect, and this brings our mining speed up considerably to 6.31. So we have essentially doubled the mining speed of the sledgehammer. While we have some cobalt, I am going to make myself up another pickaxe. And to that pickaxe, we are then going to add a luck modifier to it, which is essentially just a fortune perk. We will need some blue dye, copper ingots, and blocks of lapis lazuli, which we have all of that. So let's upgrade the pickaxe then to get some luck on it. And we can upgrade the luck one more time to luckier, which will require ender pearls, golden ingots, and a golden carrot, which we should have everything that we need for that. So there is our luckier pickaxe. And we could upgrade it one more time to luckiest, but we would require a rabbit's foot, rose gold ingots, a diamond, and a name tag. With the name tag being the only item that I don't have here at the moment, because we basically just need to loot it from a chest. So luckier it will remain, and let's upgrade this a little bit here as well, which will definitely come in handy because I have a few ore pieces here which I would like to get some more parts out from, so perfect. In addition to our newly upgraded tools, I will also make a brown toolbox, which is simple enough. And we made that to complete this quest line here so that we can get a reward of an Extendo grip. And before we use the Extendo grip, I am going to make myself up a few copper back tanks, which will be used in conjunction with the Extendo grip, but will need power first, so we will put that there and bring down the speed a little bit. That's the back tank now pretty much filled up, so let's pick it up, and what we can then do is put it on our chest slot, and if we take the Extendo grip into our offhand, we can now use the Extendo grip without using the durability of it because we will be using the copper back tank. And the Extendo grip basically just lets me mine from a distance here, which will be absolutely perfect for clearing out a big area as well, especially going vertically. So cue the music, let's get mining. Actually, cut the music, otherwise we're going to get copyright stricken there. Let's maybe try something else. I mean, better, but still no. You know what? There. That's it done. This should be enough room for us to start setting up some of these machines to start making us some parts to then make other machines. I really hope this will be enough space at least. I also cleared out an area just underneath where we can place our power sources, our thermoelectric generators, and then just feed some wires up through the floor to the machines above. Saves me getting electrocuted every few minutes anyway with rogue wires. These machines that we are going to make are going to require a lot of the same type of components, so we will be making up items such as steel scaffolding, light engineering blocks, redstone engineering blocks, and a few different types of other blocks here as well. And I do not want to make up a lot of those blocks by myself. I will instead create some mini factories here, which will then create those parts for us. So we'll start off with the most basic part of steel scaffolding, and it is a fairly simple recipe to make: 3 steel ingots and 3 steel rods. And if we make a metal press alongside an assembler, then we can have a small process here which will make those parts for us. We will start off by making a metal press, which will require a piston, 2 steel scaffolding, redstone engineering blocks, a heavy engineering block, and a few conveyor belts. I will need to make up these parts to begin with so that we can make the machines to then automate that for us, which will be a bit irritating. Speaking of irritating, I don't think the logical transporters can handle so much going through them at once, so we are spilling this out a little bit, but thanks to the request table, we can just simply store that away. The redstone engineering block that we need will require some iron sheet metal, redstone dust, and a copper ingot to make, with the iron sheet metal just simply being 4 iron plates together, and all of that is simple enough, so there's our engineering blocks. As for the heavy engineering blocks, we will require steel sheet metal alongside steel mechanical components and an electrum ingot. Steel sheet metal is similar to iron except using steel plates together. The steel mechanical component requires 4 steel plates alongside a copper ingot, and the electrum ingot is something that I've made already because it's just simple silver alongside gold to make. So I have a stack of steel ingots and we will just start pressing those down into the plates. So there is our steel sheet metals and our steel mechanical components, and finally then there's our heavy engineering blocks. The light engineering blocks are similar to the heavy ones, just using iron instead of steel, so they are equally as easy to make. Now, in order to help me make these machines, I'm going to make myself a projector, which is simple enough, using treated wood planks, an iron ingot, glass, and a lantern, with the lantern being glass panes, glowstone dust, and iron plates. So there is our projector then, and with the projector, I can then check out all of the blueprints for all of these machines that we want to make. Here is a blueprint for the metal press, which if we are now in projection mode, we should see the silhouette of all of the blocks we will need for it. And we will place that just there for the moment. Now if I get out the corresponding blocks, I can then basically just fill all of this in for what we need. I forgot about the conveyor belts actually. Let's go quickly make those, which are simple enough to make, just requiring 3 pieces of leather, 2 iron ingots, and the redstone dust. Although we will need a lot of conveyor belts, which will mean that we will need a lot of leather, so if I can find any of these hell foxes, we can use our new lucky perk sword and slaughter them to get some leather. Or alternatively, maybe for a more safer method, we can make ourselves some cow bait using 2 wheat. And if I quickly extend out the grass patches here and make the grass blocks a bit more homely, we can then place down the cow bait into the middle, and if we back away from it, eventually some cows will start spawning in from it, and we will get some more cows coming then because I would like to start breeding them up and then we can slaughter them. Anyway, back to this where we will place in our conveyor belts and we will need them facing the same way here. And we have 1 more block to go which goes on top, and I think that is then done. So if we use Engineer's Hammer on it, we have made the metal press. Now in order for the metal press to operate, we will need to supply it with some power, which we can do. and we will also need to supply it with some molds. And the molds are something that we can then make using an engineer's crafting table, which will require our treated wood. And I have been collecting creosote oil from the coke ovens into these basic fluid tanks here, and we should have a few of those now. So we will grab out some creosote oil, then we will make the treated wood planks from it, and that should then be everything that we need to make the engineer's crafting table. And we can go one step further and upgrade that to an engineer's workbench. All we need is a treated wood fence. So there is the engineer's workbench then for us. I will put down a fluid tank to start storing the creosote oil for us at some point, once we get the machines up to make the parts towards the fluid tank at least. But for the moment, these basic fluid tanks have been doing the trick there, and I think I can hear another cow. In order to use the engineer's workbench, we will need to make some blueprints, and for the metal press, it will be the one here for the molds, and this requires an iron plate, blue dye, and some paper. So with it now, we can place it into the workbench, and we get up all of the different molds that we can make. We want the rod mold, which will require 3 steel plates and an engineer's wire cutters to make it. And that's the steel plates then, and there are our engineer wire cutters, so there is the metal press mold, which we can then just simply take over and stick into the metal press, and that will now start producing us some metal rods whenever we give it any form of ingot. Next, we are going to make ourselves an assembler, and this is the machine that will actually act as a crafting table for us, creating all of these parts. And we basically have all of the components here for it, apart from the iron sheet metal slabs, which is simple enough to make. And here is the projection for that build then, so let's see if we can fit it somewhere near the press. That'll do nicely there. Now let's get the blocks out to start constructing it. And that's the assembler then assembled, so we will use the engineer's hammer on it to turn it into the actual machine. And within the interface here, we can then start teaching it some recipes. So this is the steel scaffolding recipe that it now knows, which we will supply it the steel ingots, and the metal press will supply it the steel rods. All we now need to do is connect it up with some conveyor belts. And I am going to require some leather for that, I'm afraid. And I think that is then looking not too bad. So we will put our steel ingots into the top drawer there, which will come down and be split so that half of it goes into the metal press, making the steel rods, and the other half just simply into the assembler. The magic will happen in here to make our steel scaffolding, and then that will simply come out and go all the way down into this drawer here for our output. I can definitely feel myself going all Satisfactory for this stuff. But for now, let's start getting some power into this, which I think that low voltage wires should cover this, because I believe the machines upstairs only total about 100 RF per tick, and this setup here should be 120 RF per tick if I recall, and this whole setup should now be connected to the capacitor, so we will just now start setting up the top half. And that should then be everything powered on here, and everything should start working very shortly. If we change the output there, perfect, there we go. And if I have set all of this up correctly, if I now put in my steel ingots there, it will come out and be sort of split off. Things are starting to work, which is good. But on the other side, we should start seeing our steel scaffolding starting to come out, and it will just simply be stored within the drawer. Perfect, the system works, and I get to be even lazier. So a few more assembling machines, creating us a few more different parts here, and we should be then ready to start making some of these bigger machines. Well, we certainly have the space, and we now have all of the parts that we need to make those assembly machines, so I guess I know what I'll be doing in the offline.